So many of us are dealing with such a heightened level of anxiety, of depression. And you have to ask the question, why? Why? I mean, let's face it, the last couple of years have really put us through some amazing twists and turns and challenged us in so many different ways. But why are we all of a sudden encountering all this anxiousness? What's bringing it to the surface? And better yet, how can we begin to move past it? So I thought today I would share perhaps maybe some ideas to support you in that if you are dealing with anxiety, depression, to help you move through that energy so that you can start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, start being in that light at the end of the tunnel. And perhaps maybe a great way to start this off is to share a story from my own experience. This is going back a number of years, but I was working for this company where I got this like big promotion, man. I got the company car. I was going to be responsible for managing half the country's distribution program for this semiconductor manufacturer back in the day. And I was excited. You know, I had worked hard for this, and there's another rung or two up that ladder. And, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to do this. My very first trip was to Chicago. And that night, I'm coming home after having a successful trip there. And I'm in the airplane and I'm like sandwiched in between these two big dudes, never did like the middle seat, feeling kind of crunched, kind of confined. And that plane starts taking off. And as soon as it takes off, my hands are starting to sweat. My heart is racing. I'm feeling this anxiousness come to the surface. I'm feeling this just, oh my God, panic. I literally got up, I stood in the back of the plane. The steward asked me, how are you doing? I said, I'm not doing very good. I feel nauseated. I feel like I'm going to be sick. My heart is just like racing. I'm sweating. I didn't know what I was experiencing. I'd never experienced anything like this. That night, I stood up in the back of the airplane all the way from Chicago to Orange County, just about, feeling panicked. And I really felt like that night that the universe kind of reached down, God grabbed me by the collar, shook the heck out of me, and kind of said, enough is enough. It's time to start dealing with some things. It's time to start doing some forgiveness work. It's time to start moving past some of these issues, these traumas, this lower density energy that you've been holding on to. And it all came to the surface that night. So I started back then, going to therapy, going to counseling, started working on it. Had a wonderful therapist that I got to share with. And she supported me magnificently in my journey. And the more that I worked on myself, my anxiety levels began to decrease. My sadness that I was experiencing at the time began to decrease. The more that I forgave, the more that I resolved, the more that I forgave, my parents getting divorced, some of the things I experienced as a kid, some of the things I experienced in past relationship. And over the course of that time, the more that I worked on letting go and coming to terms with that had happened, those anxiety attacks became less and less. Now, I still had to fly around after that. I was flying all the time. And I'm like there clenching, on the handrail thing, just, oh my gosh. But the more that I worked on myself, the more that those things began to decrease. And when you're dealing with anxiety, you feel this sense of powerlessness. You feel like you're out of control. You feel like you can't change it. But I can tell you that you can. And that showing up in your experience is a tremendous calling card from life, from the universe, from the divine, telling you it's time to resolve some things. It's time to let go of some old burdens. It's time to free yourself to soar. So maybe perhaps it's time to look within look to see where perhaps maybe you're still holding on to stuff. We're in a time where we can't hang on to this old stuff. And we need to free ourselves. So I invite you just to take some deep inhales of courage. Commit yourself to doing the internal work. If you're feeling that anxiety, if you're feeling that depression, if you feel this low sense that's hanging over you, like the ultimate dark cloud with rain and everything and lightning hanging over your head, it really is a sign that it's time to come to terms with some things that are within yourself. And whether you're standing up in the back of a plane, coming home from Chicago, freaking out because, you can hardly breathe and you feel nauseated or whatever, it's a calling card. And so what I would wish for you is just all of the courage, all of the commitment, all of the bravery, all of the energy it takes to look within and to realize you're not a victim. I wasn't a victim of my anxiety back then. I felt like it on that flight back from Chicago. But I started to learn that no, that was a blessing. That was a calling card from life telling me, Mark, time to heal, time to forgive, time to let go of old resentments, old burdens. And ultimately, over the course of time, I was able to let go of those things that were no longer serving me so that I could move forward in my journey with some grace and with some ease and without having to feel like I'm freaking out every time I go on an airplane. We don't have to be a victim of that. You don't have to be a victim of that. So I just want to put that out there in the mix for you to take some time to reflect, to take some time to look within and look to see what still needs to be healed. Have a conversation with it. Hello, anxiety, it's me. Yes, you've been torturing me, you've been tormenting me. But what are you trying to tell me? What are you trying to reveal? How are you trying to help me to move forward in my life? And look to see what shows up, what the answers are that get whispered into your ear. It will answer. Sometimes it gets hollered into your ear. And it's just the way that it is sometimes. But I want to encourage you to have that dialogue, to look within, and to dive into whatever type of therapy, sound healing, energy healing work you've got to do to heal that part of yourself. And what you're going to find is that old anxiety, that old depression, whatever, it's going to melt away. And you're going to be able to fly on a whole new level of possibility. The possibilities are endless. So, a little encouragement for you today. Hey, and this piece I just played a little bit of is something that's brand new. It actually came up today, as a matter of fact. And so I'm going to share it on my musical note for the week. And if you want to tune into that, breathe into that, and get further support on this issue of letting go of old stuff, of letting go and releasing and dissipating the anxiety and the depression that you might be experiencing in your life, I invite you to go to youtube.com/Mark Romero Music. You will see it on there, a little musical note to support you in letting go of what's no longer serving you. So I look forward to sharing it with you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your commitment to revealing the masterpiece that's within you. Take care and have a harmonious day.